Can I tell you guys something? The other day, my 2-year-old threw herself backwards on the floor and screamed and cried her head off because I wouldn't allow her on the trampoline that we have in our garden. Why wouldn't I allow her on the trampoline? Because it was dark, it was cold, and it was in the middle of a thunder and lightning storm. We had the biggest tantrum because I wouldn't allow her on that trampoline. And look, I've been working in early childhood for nearly 15 years. I've helped multiple parents in this same situation. And in that moment, standing there in the kitchen while I'm listening to her screaming her lungs up, I had to take a step back and remind myself of everything I'm about to tell you. Toddler tantrums are hard. They're brutal. They're embarrassing. And they make you question absolutely everything about your own parenting. But this is the truth about them. They're also completely normal, developmentally appropriate, and with the right approach, they do get better. So today I'm going to walk you through how to actually cope with toddler tantrums, not just survive them, but to understand them, and how to respond in a way that actually helps your little one. And at the end of the video, as usual, I've got a free printable tantrum survivor guide for you that you can keep in your bag, your car, your kitchen, wherever you need it most. Okay, so the first point I want to discuss, before we talk about what to do, I actually want to talk about why. Because understanding why toddlers have tantrums genuinely changes how you respond to them. So look, your toddler's not being manipulative. They're not trying to ruin your day. They're not naughty. What's actually happening is they're experiencing enormous emotions, frustration, disappointment, anger, and a sense of being overwhelmed. Their brain just doesn't simply have the capacity yet to regulate those emotions. See, the part of your brain that is responsible for emotional regulation, the prefrontal cortex, isn't fully developed until around about your mid-20s. Your toddler's version is basically brand new. They feel everything really intensely, and they almost have no tools to actually manage this. So a tantrum is essentially your child's nervous system saying, I'm completely overwhelmed and I don't know what to do with this feeling. That's not bad behavior. That's actually a child that needs help. Once I started seeing tantrums that way, as a child asking for help rather than being difficult, everything about how I responded changed. And I've seen it change for other parents too.
Okay, so the next bit I want to talk about, and honestly, this is the hardest one, I'm not going to pretend otherwise, is staying calm. Or as calm as you can possibly manage. Here's the science behind it. Children co-regulate with their caregivers. That means your nervous system literally helps regulate their nervous system. When you're calm, it signals to their brain that everything is safe. But when you're stressed and reactive, which is completely understandable, it just amplifies it even more. I know. You're in the supermarket. People are staring. You haven't slept properly in about 3 years, and staying calm probably feels impossible. But even getting to calmer than your child in that moment, you don't need to be zen. You just need to be the most regulated person in that situation. So look, practical tip. Literally take one step backwards, take a deep breath, breathe back out, and it takes a tiny little gap between the trigger and your reaction. And that gap is where good parenting lives. So look, when my eldest was a lot younger, there was one night where she was just kicking off and screaming. So literally, in the dark, I had to wrap her up warm and take her in the pram to the local park. Once I was there, I just sat on a bench, grabbed the handle of the pram, and was literally just doing that. To rock her back and forth, and on repeat, I was just singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, just over and over again, just on repeat while rocking back and forth. I was stressed, I was tired, but I just got myself into that zone where I needed to do what I needed to do. And after a while, she calmed down and we went home. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is validating their feelings. This does not mean agreeing with them, by the way. And I want to be really clear about what it means, because I do hear a lot of confusion about it. Validating your child's feelings does not mean agreeing with their behavior. It does not mean giving them what they want. It means acknowledging what they're feeling is real and understandable. So instead of just stop crying, it's just a chocolate bar, which tells them that their feelings are wrong, try something like, look, I appreciate that you're really disappointed. It's hard when we can't have something we want. That one shift, naming the emotion and acknowledging it, often starts to de-escalate the tantrum because your child feels heard. And a child who feels heard doesn't need to escalate to get your attention. You're still not buying the chocolate bar. The boundary holds, but you're holding it with empathy rather than dismissal. And that makes all the difference. Okay, so the fourth thing I want to talk about, and this is the one that parents actually find really hard, and I get it, is don't try to reason with a child who is mid-tantrum. It doesn't work, and it actually makes things worse. When a child is in full meltdown, their thinking brain essentially has just gone offline. They can't process logic, explanations, or negotiations. Trying to reason with them in that moment is like trying to have a calm conversation with someone in the middle of a panic attack. The brain just isn't available for that. What you need to do is be present, be calm, keep them safe, and wait. The tantrum will peak, and then it will pass. Your job during the peak is not to fix it, it's to ride it out safely. The conversation, the explanation, the teaching moment, that all happens afterwards. When they're calm, connected, and their thinking brain is back online, that's when they can actually hear you. Okay, next up, we've got distraction and redirection. Use it early. Timing is everything with this one. If you can spot a tantrum building, and with experience you absolutely can, there are warning signs. Distraction works brilliantly as a prevention strategy. A quick change of focus, an interesting question, pointing at something unexpected. It can completely interrupt the emotional escalation before it peaks. Once the tantrum is in full swing, distraction is much harder because they're already overwhelmed. But in those early warning stages, the grizzling, the rigidness, the early frustration, redirect their attention and you can avoid the meltdown entirely. Common redirects that work. Oh, look at that! Giving them a small job to do, a change of environment, a snack if hunger is a factor, which it often is. Hungry toddlers are literally tantrum time bombs. We had one in the shops the other week. My toddler had a massive meltdown because she wanted to go on one of those little rides, like a car or a bus, which are outside a shop, but you put the coin in and it goes back and forth or round and round. She had a full-on meltdown because she couldn't go in there. Quick redirection was like, oh my gosh, let's go in the shop. They've got like this teddy bear in there that you like, or the dollies are in there that you like. Okay, let's go, kind of thing. And off we went and we redirected her into the shop, which completely nullified the tantrum that was about to be. So yeah, this next one, distraction, redirection, can work a treat. Okay, so next up, consistency. This is where a lot of parents struggle because giving in just that once feels so much easier in the moment. And look, I completely get it. When you're exhausted and you just want the screaming to stop, caving in is the path of least resistance, isn't it? But here's what happens when you give in to a tantrum. Your child learns that tantrums work. Not because they're manipulative little people, they're not, but because children are learners. They learn incredibly quickly that a certain behaviour produces a certain outcome. Consistent, kind, firm boundaries actually reduce tantrums over time because your child learns that the boundary doesn't change. The tantrum stops being useful information and they stop using it. Consistency doesn't mean harsh. You can hold a firm boundary while being completely warm and empathetic. I know you want it and I understand you're upset. And the answer is still no, is both kind and clear. That combination is just what you're looking for. Okay, so for this next one, I want to talk about public tantrums because this deserves its whole own special category of its own. Look, it's a unique horror. The audience, the looks, the complete strangers who feel entitled to offer their opinions. But look, first, those people watching you, most of them are parents who have actually been exactly where you are and are silently rooting for you. The ones who look disapproving are either childless or have conveniently forgotten what toddlerhood is actually like. Look, practically, if you're able to, try and remove the child from the environment. Not as a punishment, as a sensory reduction strategy. Less stimulation just helps them regulate faster. But look, if you can't leave, if you've got a trolley full of shopping and you're in the middle of the supermarket and you absolutely have to finish, just keep your voice low, stay close, and just wait it out. Look, if you have to abandon the trolley and come back to it, then so be it. The groceries can wait, your child can't. And please, don't let embarrassment drive your response. The best response is for that child in that moment is the same when 20 people are watching or nobody is. Your child is the only audience that matters. Okay, so next up, what you do after the tantrum matters just as much as what you do during the tantrum. Look, once the storm has passed and your child is calm, the temptation is just to immediately jump into it. Why did we behave like that? You've got to resist it. A child who has just been through a full emotional meltdown, they need reconnection first. A hug, a quiet moment together, a kind word that it was hard. That reconnection, it repairs the relationship and brings them back to a place where they can actually receive what you want to teach them. Then briefly, just simply and warmly, you can name what happened and what you'd like them to do differently next time. Something like, when we feel frustrated, we can use our words. Or, next time you feel like that, just come and tell me. Keep it short, keep it kind, and then let it go. All right, next up, we got prevention. Because honestly, the best tantrum is the one that never happens. Most toddler tantrums have predictable triggers. Hunger, which is generally one of the biggest. Tiredness, overstimulation, transitions, moving from one activity to another, feeling out of control. Those are just a few. If you can map your child's tantrum triggers, you can often engineer around them. Don't go to the supermarket at nap time, for example. Always have a snack with you just in case. Give 5-minute warnings before transitions. Like, for example, hey, just 5 more minutes of doing this, and then we need to go and do this. Offer choices that give them a sense of control. Do you want the red cup or do you want the blue cup? Tiny little things like that preserves their autonomy and prevents a battle. You won't prevent every tantrum though. They're a normal part of development and they're going to happen to some degree. But the preventable ones are absolutely worth preventing. Okay, last one. And this is probably the most important one. So it's going to be the most serious one I talk about here. Take care of yourself. Surviving toddler tantrums repeatedly, across days and weeks and months, it's genuinely going to be hard on your nervous system. You're not being dramatic if it's affecting you. You're not weak. You're just human. Look, when you're depleted, everything is harder. Your patience is thinner. Your reactions are bigger. Your ability to stay that calm, regulated presence your child needs, it's compromised. So rest when you can. Ask for help when you need it. Talk to another parent who gets it, because sometimes you just need someone to say, yeah, me too. This is brutal, but you're doing great. I've said it before on this channel and I'll keep saying it. A calm and regulated parent is genuinely the most powerful tool in your parenting toolkit. Investing in your own well-being, it's not selfish, it's essential. So here's what I want you to hold on from today. Tantrums are not a sign that you're failing as a parent. They're a sign that your child is developing normally, experiencing big emotions and trusting you to fall apart in front of. The trust is something. They will not be this age forever. Look, this chapter is hard, genuinely hard, but it is a chapter. It does have an ending. And when the tools you build now, the connection you maintain, the empathy you show, even when it's incredibly difficult, that shapes who your child becomes. Look, I got nearly 15 years of childcare experience and I'm right here in it as a dad myself. So I promise you, it's totally worth it. You are worth it. Your child is worth it. The free printable tantrum survival guide is in the description below. Practical strategies that can help you when you need them the most. So look, if this helped you today, please like and subscribe. If you know someone else who's going through this, please share the video with them as well. There's so much more coming on this channel, and to every parent who's had a moment in the supermarket or at the park, or even if they've got a trampoline outside, you are not alone, not even slightly. And don't forget guys, let's all walk in love and peace. Thank you.